The Five Bloods is now streaming on Netflix and is directed by Spike Lee and is a film that I was very excited to see, and I couldn't wait to talk about it as soon as I'd seen it. And some of my friends who are critics, some of them already saw the movie a couple of days ago, and ever since then I've just been waiting minute after minute after minute. I didn't see any trailers for this film, even though I knew what it was about from the premise, but I wanted to go into it as blind as possible because when it comes to a Spike Lee movie, there's a lot of other subtext to it, which I'm even more interested in seeing, and I didn't want any hints of that given away in the trailer, and so I wanted to go in as blind as possible, and now that I've seen the film, I'm so glad I made that decision, which is why I'm not exactly going to give you a plot outline. The less I think you know about this film, the better. I actually didn't even know what it was about until I saw it just now. And now that I've seen it, there's so much I want to talk about, and there are so many things I want to discuss, but I gotta keep it spoiler free because a lot of people haven't seen it yet. I love Spike Lee as a director. He makes amazing films. Yeah, he's made some stuff which is not so great every now and then, but then again, every director has that, I guess. Today, I just saw a movie directed by Kenneth Branagh, a director I usually like, and he made a film today, which was a dumpster fire. So, shit happens. And this film, though, is no dumpster fire. This is one of Spike Lee's best. In fact, there is a convincing argument to make that this might be his best film yet. This is a staggering movie. There's so much going on in it, and it has so many moments where it could easily come off as extremely convoluted or overstuffed. And it clocks in at 2 hours and 35 minutes, which is a pretty steep runtime. Thankfully, thanks to the amazing direction on display, the amazing pacing, and wonderful writing, this film doesn't feel like any of those things. It is a masterfully made film, filled with some amazing performances, especially from Delroy Lindo, who honestly deserves an Oscar nomination for this movie. There is so much, again, I want to say about that performance, and I just don't want to get into too many spoilers, but he has a few scenes in particular where it's just him. And he's sort of talking to the camera, but it's more like he's talking to himself. It's his inner monologue said out loud. And they're just absolutely gutting scenes. And this film has a lot of those moments. War is a really horrific thing that leaves behind a scar. And in his case, it's left behind a severe case of PTSD. And so he's struggling with those demons constantly throughout the film. And even the slightest thing that seems wrong comes off to him as him being back in a war scenario. There's some people at one point in time they run into, and his first reaction is that, oh, they're intruders. They've been sent by somebody, and they're here to get us. And it's like, wait, what are you doing? They're not here like that. They're friendlies. Like, no. They're enemies. I can't really talk about that. Again, it's vague. You don't get a spoiler, but it makes so much of an impact later on, especially when you start to unpeel the layers on what exactly are the things that he has seen and happened that led to this, and it's just the acting on display. My God, everybody else in the film is also really, really great. I mean, there's no dearth of good acting in this movie. It's all to the brim loaded with spectacular performances and wonderful direction from Spike Lee, who has done a magnificent job. One thing I want to talk about in this movie is the cinematography. This movie changes aspect ratios a few times. It is 4:3 when you're in the Vietnam War stuff. It's widescreen before they get onto their real journey back in the present day. And when they're back on the same location many, many years later, it's in 1.85:1. And I think they did such a great job with the transitions. They're not just done for a stylistic choice, they're done as a narrative choice. And I even like the fact that there is a difference in the way they're shot. For example, there's a lot of grain and old school camera footage to showcase the 1971 stuff, which is wonderfully done. I like the fact that they adhere to some of those technological aspects of it. The score by Terence Blanchard, magnificent. I believe he got nominated for BlacKkKlansman as well. This should be his second nomination then. Magnificent score. Absolutely brilliant. In fact, I can't wait to start listening to it immediately after this review. This film has a lot of different themes it deals with, of course. As you know, it's a Spike Lee film. There's going to be a lot of issues addressed. For instance, racial divide comes up quite a bit. The effects of war come up quite a bit. Parenthood is a theme that comes up quite a bit because you've got Paul with his son, David, and there's this rift between them that has lasted for many many years, pretty much ever since David was a kid. And you go into their relationship quite a bit, and there's a lot of moments there where you can feel like there's this rocky history between them, and his son is just helpless. He's trying to connect to his father, who's somewhere there, but he's just not being able to quite reach him. He's just ever so slightly away from him. There's a lot of moments like that in this film. But funnily enough, there's also some humor in this movie. The first half of this film actually has a lot of moments which are lighthearted. It's very camaraderie based. There's a lot of, ha-has to be had. Exactly at the halfway mark, this thing takes a drastic tone shift, and the film changes into something else. But that is also done so expertly that I have to give praise just to the way it's written and directed. A spectacularly done transition into those more grim events that the film has to portray. And at the same time, it gets its themes across perfectly and its imagery across perfectly as well. It never feels heavy-handed. It never feels like it's trying to, like hit you in the face with its symbolism, or whether it be its commentary. It's doing it in a very subtle way, and it does it wonderfully. Yes, I can see some people being a little taken aback because it does address some politics, and Spike Lee is a critic of the current administration, so anyone who's a supporter is probably going to be a little peeved off by the way this film is done. But, I feel like that's with the terrain. If it happened any other way, when it comes to politics, there's always some kind of a, pointing game that happens, which is unfortunate because at the end of the day, that's not the point of the movie. The point of the movie is to address the atrocities of war, the effects it has on us, on people, and how even many years later, those effects are still not gone. Whether it be in terms of race, whether it be in terms of how people are treated in society, anything. And I think that's the most important part of this movie, the most powerful part of it. Of course, I recommend this film on all cylinders. I mean, this is a staggering achievement by Spike Lee. I'm not gonna hesitate with this. I've thought about this before I started, filming the review on what grade I wanted to give this film, and frankly, I'm very pleased to give it this. So, without further ado, I'm gonna give Da 5 Bloods a 10 out of 10. It is now June 12th. That is the first movie of 2020 that I've given a 10 out of 10. Which makes sense because a lot of stuff got delayed. So I didn't really have a chance to give anything else 10 out of 10 before it, got pushed back. But it's nice to say that about a 2020 movie. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Forward to more reviews very soon, like King of Staten Island. I'll have that up tomorrow. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.